and welcome to another episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I'm your host, Cuddy Cudworth, the UK's leading mind management, self-titled, Jenna, self-titled, I will have you know. But today we've got a completely different podcast because it's important information that businesses need to know. And I mentioned to you before we started, Jenna, that I like to work with HR teams so that we can get that message out into the world of what needs to happen within the workplace, especially regarding culture. But before we deep dive into that, Jenna, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where you're from?
Well, the polished version is I am Jenna Macbeth and I am the HR consultant behind Heartland HR. So I support businesses to grow and thrive without having the people challenges, is my tagline.
Very nice. So we're going to deep dive a lot in here because there's so many sides to HR that I think people don't understand within.
Absolutely.
And every HR manager is different.
Agree.
And I've done a mention to this many a time. I always got on with HR I worked at Royal Caribbean, which is a massive corporation. Every ship had their own HR person, and I felt sorry for him sometimes because I think everybody thought that HR was the problem solvers for people's.
Absolutely.
And you're not in any way whatsoever. I know that, and I knew that. The amount of times you had a line of people outside HR complaining about their managers, it was just unbelievable.
Absolutely. We get pigeonholed into that all the time.
And you're the one that's supposed to sit there, but your line is Heartland, so I'm sure there's a big heart part of it for you, Jenna.
Yeah, well, Heartland HR comes from the area, so I am a Perthshire girl. That is a picture behind me of our farm, which is near Pitlochry. And that whole area is known as the Heartland area, so that's where the name came from.
Ah, so you're not the heartland of the business that you're going to be working.
Well, I kind of am that as well.
Are you the touchy-feely HR, or are you the no? This is the rule. Piss off HR.
I like to draw a bit of a line between the two because I think both sides are important. I think you need to have that very firm line sometimes, but also you need to be able to do the softer side because that's how you get the best out of people. You
Yeah,
need to be able to work the two sides together.
yeah. We're going to talk about some wins you've had as a HR manager in business, and we're going to talk about some horror stories. And I know a business that was a horror story, and I know I had to leave that business, to be fair, because I was like, oh my God. The biggest problems within the business structure was the person who owned the business. And I was like, there's no point having me here as a mind management coach supporting your team's mindset and mental health because you're the
Absolutely.
problem. You are the actual problem. And what a surprise, they went through a lot of HR. So Jenna, what was your journey into HR?
So I think there's a lot of HR people kind of fall into the profession, but I actually chose it for my sins. So I went to Napier Uni and did business studies. And my third year, I got the opportunity to do a full year's placement, and that ended up being with a HR consultant and training company. So I kind of got my first flavour of HR, then really enjoyed it. Carried on and did my master's in HR. And then decided I want to move back up to the homeland, back up to Perthshire, and got an excellent job with an HR consultancy based back up in Perth. And I've been in the profession ever since. Absolutely love it.
What is it about HR you like?
It's been able to help people. That's the thing that I enjoy most, and being able to get the best out of people. I am a bit of a problem solver, and that's a lot of what HR is still is problem solving. So I quite like it when a manager, a business owner comes to me, we've got this issue, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And I can put steps in place, and in most cases, you get the outcome that you want.
Ooh, that's quite a positive sentiment on most cases. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the wins that you've had as a HR manager, because you are outsourced, so you don't work
Yeah.
with the businesses. You cover quite a few businesses.
I do, yeah. Which I mean, embedded HR and being an HR consultant, they are very similar now. And I think HR historically, and I know HR doesn't always get the best reputation. Historically, it was very much about that hiring and firing, compliance, and not much else in between. Whereas the biggest thing now is that HR is being seen as a strategic partner. It's actually important for business. I mean, people at the end of the day are the biggest asset in a business. If you're looking after them and getting the most out of them, then your business is going to thrive. But if you are not doing that side of things and not seeing HR as strategic, not looking after your people, then you're making life a lot more difficult for yourself.
Aye, that's so. The reason we said we were going to have a chat about this was this exact ethos. I
Yeah.
know, and it's a Gary Vee thing from America, and he always says, "Hire fast, fire fast." And I was like, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial minds think, yeah. Gary Vee says, look, hire them fast, fire them fast.
Yeah.
And I am heart-centered approach. I do have a soft side that kind of lets things go quite a lot because I always it's a silly thing that I always remember. Would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? And I'm like, I'd rather be happy than be right. And that I know that that's still probably not the best way to go because you need to have those boundaries. And I'm not always the best at boundaries, to be fair, Jenna. However, the topic of the conversation today is why you can't hire fast and you can't fire fast anymore. Because there's new legislation for businesses now in the UK.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, historically, there's always been so under the last government, we had the 2 year rule, which you've maybe heard businesses talk about. So generally, a person cannot claim unfair dismissal when they have under 2 year services. And I say generally because it's not always the case. If someone has a protected characteristic or you're trying to get rid of somebody because you think they're too old to do the job, then that 2 year rule is out the window. That does not apply. But in most circumstances, at the moment in the UK, you can dismiss somebody within that 2 year period without having to go through a full disciplinary process. Now that is changing because there's the Labour government are trying to bring in the employment rights bill. It's still going through Parliament. We have got a bit of a roadmap at the moment, so they are looking to make unfair dismissal a day one right, and that's likely to come into effect based on their current roadmap in 2027. So
all
that
right,
that will
okay.
get rid of that totally. So at the moment, you can dismiss somebody within that 2 year period. Again, it's not always good business practice to do it because there is other reasons that we'll get into. Um, but they are going to bring that down to being a day one, right? So you're not going to have that period anymore.
Do you think, or why would you say it's completely the wrong mindset to have to say, look, hire them fast, give them a trial for 3 months. If they're not good, fire them. Why do you believe that that's a bad mindset to have towards staff?
Oh, where can I start on that? It's just not good business practice. So if you're hiring quickly, you're trying to fill bums on seats, you are going to take up a lot of time, a lot of resources getting that person in and trained to then potentially just get rid of them in a couple of months' time. It's really bad practice. And even for your team round about you, if you've got team members that have maybe been in a couple of years, they don't want to be having to train people up to do the job for them just to leave. It's a total waste of time. It's totally demoralizing for your team members that are in place. And it also sets that culture for your team that, well, if I don't do a good job, am I going to be the next one that's just punted out the door? It's there's nothing good about it.
I love that because it's not just the new people coming in; it's also
No, it's your
um,
existing team as well that you've got to think about. And it doesn't set a good if you're sitting in a company where people are coming and going frequently, it's not going to give you a good vibe. You're not going to want to stick around in a company that you're having to make friends with your colleagues every couple of months because they're in and out that quickly. It's not good for team culture and morale.
what's and look, culture is a big thing. I've done a lot of podcasts about culture, and HR is the different side of talking about culture.
Yeah.
When we're talking culture, what is or what businesses have you seen that have got the culture right?
Mean, there's a lot of good and bad stories. I think the good ones, the key green flags that you want to see are you've got people that are there for a long time. You're not seeing people coming in and they've only got a couple of months service and then they're out the door. You want to see people that have got longevity, which in the current economy, kind of 2, 3 years is seen as quite a decent length of time. So that shows you that a company is good and is clearly looking after their team. Um, I went in and met a new client a couple of weeks ago, and a massive green flag for me was they had a team member that had mental health issues, and off their own back, the company had gone and got them counselling, paid for it, looked after that employee, and I thought that that is great. You've gone above and beyond here. So that's a green flag. Companies that actually want to look after their team. But on the flip side, it's not about being soft either. They have to have consistency and have a level of rules. I think that can also cause an uncertain culture if you've got a business owner that is very soft and lets people push the boundaries all the time. That's not good for other people either. So you need to have that balance between sticking to the rules and also providing that care for your team as well.
Perfect. Yeah, no, a great point to make there. When you were saying that bad manager with no with bad boundaries, I was thinking
Mhm.
of The Office, the American Office with Steve Carell,
Yeah,
because he is notoriously a bad manager, and I love the entire program based around how bad every trait that he has. So businesses genuinely have to look at cost. I mean, everything's about money within the business structure.
absolutely.
Let's be honest, it's all about the money. There's no point going into a business if we're not making money. Now, I know I come from a place of if you treat people with respect, you treat their mental health and their mindset, teaching them about mindset increases mental health.
Yeah,
Facts. It just does.
absolutely.
The proof is
Yeah.
there. But I also know that the use of mind management coaches and counselors and therapists is on the decline for businesses because a lot of businesses look at their bottom line.
Yeah.
How do you explain to a business, Jenna, that actually, even though there might not be a return on investment, you think in sales or output, what you are creating is a culture that 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, starts creating the ethos where your bottom line, your sales and your outcomes are going to go up. How do you approach that subject, Jenna?
Absolutely. And it's difficult. And I think that's sometimes the frustration in HR because it can be really difficult to put a price value on what we do. But if you have got team members that are constantly under pressure, are struggling with their mental health, you're not going to get the output from them. They're going to be underperforming. Whereas if you invest that little bit of time and money into their mental health, you're going to get more out of that team member.
Yeah.
So although there might not be an actual quantifiable amount that you can put on that, if you look at your productivity, there potentially should be a measure that you could use there. So there should be a return on that investment.
Yes, I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. So
Yeah.
what this brings me down to is, do you feel that businesses place enough importance on culture?
Not always, no. And especially at the moment, I think there is so much, especially I'm working with a lot of small businesses. There's a lot of businesses in like so your hospitality sector that are very under pressure at the moment. They've got rising costs. They had the national insurance hike in April, followed by minimum wages increasing. They're getting more and more pressure from their teams to try and keep those teams within that hospitality sector and not go out with because it's really difficult at the moment with costs. But there's not always that thought of culture. It is the bottom of the list because costs are the biggest pressure. And they want to make sure that they're actually keeping staff in a job is kind of their main priority.
It's kind of like you can't have one without the other, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's if you've not got nobody to serve the food, you're not going to sell food in the first place, are you? Which is the whole
exactly.
point of people coming to that hospitality place is for that service.
Yep. And it's really difficult for business owners to try and you can understand why they're under pressure. And sometimes that pressure comes across. You're only human. If you're a single business owner, you've not really got that support or the people that you can have that whinge to round about you, then you are just going to carry on. And I see that all the time as well, that you've got a business owner that does take it out on their team. And it's not good for culture. It's not good for morale. That's the times where you really want your team to be pulling together.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot of positives there. Now we're going to talk about the realistic. We need to talk realism, and I come from a place of I used to be a moaner and a complainer. So this is because I was in a negative, disempowered emotional state, as I
Yeah.
see, which is depression, anxiety, and stress. From your point of view, Jenna, and it is only a point of view, how do you spot the people who genuinely want to prosper within a business and the moaners and the complainers that just keep using mental health as an excuse?
Oh, that is a good question.
It
I
is.
think
It's
you
not
can,
ordered. I think businesses need to understand, especially the empathetic business leaders, that look, I really like Bob, but Bob for now 2 years keeps saying he's got a mental health problem. However, Bob's not took up the counselling, the coaching, or any of the resources that we have. I can't help Bob anymore. What do I do about Bob?
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. And I think business owners need to take the time to get to know their team, or managers need to get to know their team. That's half the point of being a manager is managing a team. So you need to get to know your people. You need to have those people skills to be able to read people and understand them. And yes, there is, I mean, mental health's been kind of signposted as the new bad back. That it's the excuse that everybody
I've
goes
said it.
for.
I agree 100%. It's the new bad back. And I'll even put this out there. If I get some hate for this, I think ADHD is the new mental health.
Yeah, it's
Well done,
I
Jenna.
don't I
That was
don't
a
I don't I don't disagree with you.
ADHD. I'm telling you now, ADHD will be the next mental health, and it'll be the next bad back.
Yeah,
People are self-diagnosing ADHD, and there's so much information about ADHD, how it doesn't actually have to be a problem why we can't do anything. And that's a
absolutely.
mindset switch. It's a mindset
Yeah,
switch. Anyway, I'm going to get
absolutely.
off my high horse. I'm going to get off my high horse. And I'm going to let you carry on. Let's talk about Bob. 2 years in, he's not took
Yeah.
any of the support. What do we do?
Yeah. And I think the anytime, and again, it comes up all the time that I get managers phoning me saying such and such is off sick and they're saying it's mental health. What can I do? Because they think that they can't touch it. They think that it's a protected characteristic. We can't do anything about that. And that's absolutely not the case. And it's trying to flip the mindset of don't just see it as a negative, see it as an opportunity to provide your duty of care and support to that person as well. So if somebody's off with mental health, generally there's maybe something that's triggered it. So you want to be able to speak to them about that. If it's a 1 day thing, fine, do return to work the next day, but make sure you sit down and actually talk to them about what triggered that. Was it work? Was it personal? Is it anything that we could be doing differently? Um, and like you said, you can offer the counselling. There's a lot of really good employee assistance programs out there now as well,
We
and they
are
don't
prior to my
cost a lot of
management
money.
is yeah. Yeah.
Which,
Our business is we are a coaching provided service for an employee assistance. People that don't want
yeah,
counseling therapy, which is on the rise,
yeah,
they want a coaching. So we're solution focused outcomes for prior to my management. We work with a couple of businesses for what's the outcome you think you can't achieve, and let's work you through that. And it's like, oh wow, I don't get diagnosed, I don't get therapized.
yeah,
I get a solution focus coming out. So that's exactly what we do, Jenna. So yeah,
yeah.
carry on.
So yeah, so no, those sorts of things, they're a really good business tool to have, because then your managers, not all of your managers are going to be mental health first aiders. If you're a business of a size, you might have one mental health first aider if you're lucky. It's not an actual requirement for a business yet. So these conversations can still be really tricky because managers don't know what to say when it's mental health. Somebody's coming in and saying, oh, they've got really bad anxiety, they've got depression, they've been given medication. It's really difficult for a manager to know exactly what questions to ask in that situation to encourage that person back to work, but also provide the support. And also, like I said, it's a protected characteristic. If they've got a disability that's coming under mental health, then it does make it more challenging for that manager. And you do want to make sure that you're providing the support and looking at adjustments for that, like we had to do with the bad back previously. And you have to treat everybody that they are being truthful, which is really difficult sometimes. I get managers phoning me up and they will say, oh, such and such, they're totally at it, they're skiving, they're saying they've got mental health issues and they can't come to work. I just want to get rid of them. This is absolute nonsense. And you have to take that little bit of a step back. Well, why are they not wanting to come to work in the first place? Is there something going on at work that's stopping them from coming in? You can't just dismiss this as they're just on the skies. They're at it. They've not actually got
So
mental health
hard.
issues. It is hard, but you need to, from an HR point of view, it's so much better just to go through a couple of simple steps to have those conversations, get it documented, and then the business is protected. If you've done your bit and offered solutions, you've offered adjustments, and there's nothing else the business can do, then that's where you can progress it to a slightly more serious level if the person is still potentially taking the mick.
Jenna, your expertise as a HR where they end up sat in front of you, what's the percentage of they're at it?
It's difficult. I'm going to give you the politicians the politicians answer here. It's really difficult because at the end of the day, and this is one of my biggest frustrations. Everybody has mental health,
Yes, everybody's got, yeah, mental
and
health's
I
not,
think
not a bad
sometimes
thing.
that's the frustration, and you have to get that over to business owners as well. That yes, okay, they might potentially be skiving, but what is going on in their mental life that is causing them to do that? There must be something going on that is causing that mental health dip that is making them not want to come to work. Because we all have them. We just some of us are able to deal with it, some of us are a little bit more resilient than others and are better equipped to deal with things. Some people aren't, unfortunately. And it's trying to get that across. Again, business owners, because of the positions they are in, tend to be a little bit more resilient. They've probably had a bit more life thrown at them. They've maybe had more challenging things to navigate. And they then find it really difficult when they have got an employee that comes to them that's maybe a little bit more gentle and can't cope with the things that life throws at them. And that's a really difficult balance to try and get and try and make them match up.
Yeah. I for anyone watching this podcast as well, I always when I do trainings with businesses, I've got one on mental resilience. All my trainings that I do with businesses will feature and focus around one thing that we're very scared to talk about, which is the internal conversations that we have.
Mm-hmm.
People are so scared of not wanting to talk about their internal conversations. It's the monkey mind. We're speaking through our emotions. So this internal conversation that we have is not schizophrenia. Everyone's so scared to admit, oh my God, I've got that internal voice and that internal. I'm like, we all have. It drove me insane. I did think I was schizophrenic or bipolar. I was like, and then I read this fantastic book and I was like, oh, this is what everybody's got. And then once you start talking about it, you're talking to yourself again. Yeah, I'm talking to myself again. Yeah, sometimes I get a good answer. So the monkey mind is that internal conversation that's generally always negative, and we're so scared of it. It's unbelievable. So I love what. So what's two things to get the culture right from the start instead of putting bums on the seat, because that means the owner of the business, the leadership team are coming from a place of fear and scarcity, right? They've not done it right.
Yeah.
How do you change the mindsets of the leadership team that get this in place? This becomes less, and what is that step to get this in place so that this becomes less?
Well, like you said, businesses tend to be very money focused. Not all of them, but a lot of businesses, it tends to be down to the bottom line. They want to know what the impact is going to be. And there is a very clear cost involved in recruitment. So whether that be the actual cost of hiring a recruitment agency to try and get you that person in place, or whatever you're using to do your recruitment, there is always going to be an actual cost. There's going to be a money cost there, but bigger than that is the time cost, which again, we know that time is precious to business owners because they don't tend to have a lot of it. And if you're going through the recruitment process every couple of weeks, even every couple of months, it's not a quick process. You've still got certain things to follow. You're going to have to get CVs potentially in that you're going to have to sift through. You're then going to have to do the calls to arrange to get people in, to meet them, to carry out an interview. It's all time that a business doesn't have. So if you're going through that process, even a couple of times a year, 3, 4 times a year, that is a massive amount of time. that is involved in that to then not be putting the investment into that person. And I think I mean, you don't want to see people as not human, but if in a business, if you were needing a new piece of software, that company is going to go through quite a big process to look at lots of different softwares. They're going to have some sort of pros and cons list. They're then going to get that software implemented. That's going to be a big time cost. They're then going to have to train up all those staff. They're not going to just chuck that software out the door within a couple of months because they put in that investment into it. It should be the same thought with a new employee. They shouldn't be thinking of them as disposable. They should be wanting to put that time and investment into that person to get the most out of them because otherwise it's not a good, that cost in both the actual money and the time is massive taking on a new employee.
Yeah. So time is, because I'm learning from you so that the next time I pitch to a business, I'll be like, it's the cost of time.
The cost of time is the massive thing.
The cost of time. You're losing time on a daily
Absolutely.
basis.
And a new employee is not going to be productive within that first couple of months. It's going to take them a while to learn the job, learn the people, learn how you operate, and then they'll become a productive member of staff. And that whole time, you've then got other team members that are probably not as productive as they would normally be because they are supporting that new team member. So there's all these extra time costs.
I love it. You've just you've sent me down a rabbit hole there for my E&I pictures for the next month, which is absolutely fantastic. Right. Okay. So getting the culture right is going to save businesses time. Time is going to save that business money, which hits your bottom line.
Yep.
Perfect. So my trainings that I have help the managers to save their time so they can do their business, they can do their more of their own work and less of the other teams. Because I've got two trainings, which is helping you to listen. People don't know how to listen. And you can literally sit 10 feet away and just be like, oh, right, somebody's depressed, right, somebody's anxious, somebody's happy, right, I need to speak to this person today, see if there's anything I can resolve. Let's get that off the plate. Yeah. Perfect. Love that. Fantastic. So Jenna from Heartland HR, you've spoke so eloquently about what you do. And I think we've talked very positively about things.
Yeah.
You're going to have to dish the dirt. You're going to have to dish one of the funny horror stories you had to deal with as a HR. Come on, Jenna, dish it. Don't mention names. Don't mention businesses.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's all Jenna. I think every HR person has probably got a few different stories. I mean, I've had the sitting in disciplinary meetings and the person across the table is quite rightly not happy at having been dragged into a meeting. They've chucked chairs. I've had somebody punch a wall on their way out the door. You see all those horror stories, but there's always HR people, or certainly a lot of the ones I know, we're in HR because we tend to be a little bit nosy. I'll be totally honest. We love to hear about what's going on, and you do in HR. You hear about all the things that go on, all the stories. You like to ask the questions that are going to get you the little bit extra information. And I think that's the thing about HR that I enjoy the most is you never know. You can't predict what people are going to do. There's always going to be the thing. There was one case that we had a few years ago that there was like poison pen letters that were getting sent around an office. They weren't signed, but you had to do that little bit of digging. It was a little bit Miss Marple trying to find out, well, who could be possibly sending these based on the information. It's great. That's the sort of stuff that I think we love, and you really get a bit of a buzz on being in HR.
What's but there is pen letter?
Somebody was like writing letters. I think one of the letters that got sent was to an employee's wife saying that he was having an affair, which it was false. It wasn't true.
That's the one that hurt people.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's good things. And don't get me wrong.
Was it a woman?
Yes, it was.
And do you know why? Without judgment, I want to say it's always. There's an old adage from years ago: "Never trust a woman scorned." Something like that about a woman scorned.
Absolutely. So yeah, so that's, I mean, but that's still, I'm probably still saying that's an upside. I think there's the downside to HR, and I know that you had Amanda on before, who's a dentist, and she was saying about people hating coming to the dentist, and she hears nothing but moans. Again, HR can sometimes be a bit like that. I think especially, and I don't want to mention the COVID again, but during COVID, HR was the one that was supporting all of the team members. They were doing X, Y, and Z to make sure the team were all looked after, but we were the ones that were getting all the questions. We had all the stress of, well, what are we going to do next? We don't know what the government's going to do next. There was no thought for how HR were handling that. It was a lot of thought on the employees. And there's a lot of HR managers that were in redundancy pools and things. And that's often the case that if there's a team, a big wide scale redundancy, an HR manager can be expected to be carrying out that redundancy process and doing it as professionally and caring as they possibly can while still having their job at risk at the same time, which is a horrible situation to be in. And it's the same with who listens to your moans as an HR person. It's
Who
normally normally
does?
normally
If
the
you don't
boss
mind me
or the
asking, who
partner.
does?
Yeah. And
Oh,
it's difficult. It is difficult sometimes because
what
there's
does your
not
partner
that.
do?
Pardon?
What does your partner do?
He's a joiner.
Oh, so
It's a
does he?
totally different kind of
Is
business.
so that's yeah. Even the brain's completely different. I know the brain
Yeah,
join is completely different.
yeah.
I don't know your husband, but he's build and fix, so emotions might not be high on his scope.
Yeah, he's pretty good to be fair. He is pretty good. He's good at listening, especially when it's a juicy case. He's probably as nosy as I am. But sometimes it's just having that person that you can whinge to because you've spent all day listening to whether it's been employees or other managers or the business owners, what's going wrong in their business, and you're sorting out their problems. But who's then got your back to sort your problems out? And that's probably again, it's probably the thing that I've struggled with a little bit being self-employed. And you have to kind of build that network round about you just to make sure that you have got that support.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's fascinating, especially the cost, because I know I'm going to start wrapping up a little bit now. The cost to culture is time, and
Yeah.
time is something that you never get back. So if you get your procedures in place, it saves you time. There's a time cost at the beginning, but down the road, it's going to save you time, and that is where the return on investment is. And that's probably
Yeah.
going to be my BNI speech tomorrow. I know it will be. Now, I have a very serious question before we go any further, JR, because you are a HR, you work with the owners of the business and you're high up. Have you ever been to a Coldplay concert?
No, I have not.
I had to check. I just wanted to check. Um,
No, but I did see the questions about when you've got an HR manager that's done something wrong, who does their disciplinary meeting? That's where you get an outsourced HR consultant in.
Perfect sales, man, Jenna. And I know that you are of child, so I know that that's going to be happening. So from everybody
Yeah,
at the Mind Management Mentors, we wish you all the fantastic going possible.
thank you very much.
Not a problem. And you know, I know when I met you, I'm very tall and very loud, and you're quite short, if I remember.
Yes.
Ooh, now there's something I want to ask you before you leave because I was like, so what's a protected characteristic? What does that mean?
Oh, okay. So protected characteristics are age, gender, race, sexual orientation, any of those sort of characteristics like that.
So they can't be fired because of it.
Um, you just have to, you can't do it on that basis. Like if you've got an employee, just because you just mentioned it, if you've got an employee that tells you they're pregnant, they're then protected. You can't then dismiss that person because they are pregnant. That would automatically be unfair and that would be absolute grounds to go to tribunal.
So what if you've got somebody who's been on the sick for 2 years for mental health, not
Hmm.
been to a counselor, not been to a therapist, not been to a coach,
Yep.
and then is still underperforming? Can you fire that person?
Um, you'd have to go through a process and
Yeah.
again show that you've done again, just because somebody has got whether it's a physical or mental health issue, it doesn't mean you can't dismiss them. You just have to make sure that you've provided all of the support and adjustments before that point. And it normally comes down to a capability. dismissal, if somebody's not able to do their job because of that, and you've still put in all of the adjustments that you possibly could, then you can still dismiss them. It's just you have to make sure that you followed a process.
I love it. Documentation.
Yeah,
Document everything.
absolutely.
That was the one thing that I used to work at Royal Caribbean for many years, and I used to love performance opportunity logs. I loved them. And the HR, the staff sometimes, and because I worked with a lot of the managers because I was the director of the managers, and I once every 2 months I'd come in, we'll go through some POLs. They went, what have I done wrong? I'm like, no, it's a performance opportunity log. So if you've done something right, I'm going to put it in there.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I've never had that before. So every 2 months they come in, oh, I've got POLs. I'm like, you've done really good. Actually, I don't think there's one negative in there. I've not even thought about it.
Again, that's a culture thing as well, though. It's trying to get that performance is a good thing. And again, we've been through that so many times. I'm not the biggest fan of annual appraisals because I think you can't just save stuff up and do them in
For the
one
year.
annual review. Yeah, it's a waste of time. People don't remember them. But having those regular performance reviews where you are recognizing when somebody's done something really well as maybe needing to improve on something, it's great for business.
Yeah.
But it's another thing that's consistency.
Consistency is key. And on that bombshell, absolutely fantastic. Anything else you want to share with the mind management mentors, the businesses that are going to tune into I need to know about HR? Why can I not hire fast and fire fast anymore? What is the government doing? Is there anything else you want to share, Jenna?
No, I think it's just time is money. So you need to focus your time on the things that are going to bring in money and do the best for your employees. Culture is going to bring you a return on your bottom line is the ultimate.
We're going to work together again, Jenna. I can tell. I can absolutely tell. We're in the same business. Brilliant. Thank you very much. As always, big love from Cuddy. We'll see you on the next episode. If you've enjoyed this episode and you want to take part in more of the mind management, get all the updates, then please click like and subscribe, get the bell, and you'll get updates on the Mind Management Mentors podcast. Jenna, thank you very much.
Thank you.